So we're going to take a look now at doing this particular dimensioning problem. So we're going to draw our nice little thingy here with the rounded edges, and again, easier said than done when you're using a super sensitive thingy. All right, how about I pause it and then I'll draw it and then you'll see it's beautiful. All right, so there's my beautiful picture. And I see that I've got 4 tap holes, 4 M's here. And then I've got a nice big hole in the center, keyhole, going on like this. And then I've got this guy coming up here, and he's like this. And from the top, I can see that I have some hidden lines, and then center, and then hidden lines, and then center. Can you hear my toddler? Hidden line, hidden line, hidden line, and center. And I'm going to make sure everything lines up. Yeah, lines up like it should. I'm also going to show that I have a center line like this, and this way I only have to dimension the hole, each of these holes, or part of these holes. Basically, I can show that these holes line up. And so then they line up this way too, and this is going to make dimensioning it a lot easier. Dash, dot, dash, dot, dash. Alright, and then I've got one coming here, and that looks terrible because that's not lined up here at the top. So this center line needs to be lined up with that, which means that that one's off. Alright, now I think that's a lot better. And then I've got a center line going this way. And then finally off to the side I've got a additional going like this. Alright guys, we can line up here, we really can. And so he's going to be lined up like this. And there's my center line, choo choo choo, and choo choo choo, and choo choo choo. And a hidden line, 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 and a hidden line. And the nice news is, I'm never actually going to need this drawing, I'm just doing it for funsies. Alright, so now that I have everything drawn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and make it a whole lot bigger, because I'm going to need a lot of space to get these dimensions on here. I was just kind of lining them up initially for what I needed to do. Alright, so again, instead of worrying about, well, what dimensions should I take from the other one, really just what I need to say is, well, what dimensions do I actually need to make this part, and, you know, just pull those in. So I'm obviously going to need to know how wide it is. I'm obviously going to need to know how tall it is. So I'm going to need to know this dimension. And I've got to move everybody over because we're going to run out of room. So how wide am I? How wide is this little thingy here? Well, it's going to go from, if I look, I've got that dimension, but the 135 doesn't go all the way over. So it's the 135 plus that, which is 15. Alright, so 135 plus 15, so I can do this. 150, that's the width of my whole part. So my whole part is 150.00, so I better do that because that's what we're doing here, 150.00. Alright, so I'm going to need that length. I'm going to need the whole height. I need to know the whole height. I'll make my arrow prettier. Alright, so my height is given by 120. I can see it over there on that dimension. So 120.00. I'm going to need to know the distance here, because that'll give me a way to place both of those holes, and I can tell from my picture over here that that's 15.00. And now I want to do the same thing down here. This is not in the right spot. Oops. Not in the right spot. Can I erase just that part? Oh, I got it mostly. Okay. So I need the distance from here to here. I'm gonna bet that's also 15. I just gotta prove it. There it is. That dimension is 15. I'm also gonna need the dimension to the center of that circle. The dimension to the center of that circle is dimension to the center of that circle. Where's the center of this? Well, there's a 45, and I know that this part is 15, so 45 and 15 is 60. Can I find that anywhere else? Thought I found that someplace else. Maybe not. Nope, that's about as good as it gets. Alright, there's a couple of other ways to find it. I just thought it actually said 60 somewhere. Oh, it does, it does. It says 60 right here. The distance from here to here is 60. So the distance from there to there must be 60 since it's got a total of 120. Alright, so I've got all that. Now I'd like to find the distance from here to here, and that's going to be kind of hard to do. So to fit everything in there, I'm going to instead, oops, I'm going to do a smush one. I'm going to say if I smush this distance, it's going to be, here's a 15 on that side, so that's going to be 15. And is there a 15 anywhere else? I can find it related to this guy over here. Well, yeah, there's 120 plus 15, so, well, 120 minus 35, so 120. 135 minus 20 is 15, so this distance here must also be 15. And that's how we do it. And so that distance in there is 15.00. I'm also going to need to know the distance to that center line. Going from either direction, I guess, would be sufficient, so I might find the other direction easier. So how do I get to the center of that circle? Because we always dimension circles by their centers. Okay, that's 75, so I can see that from there. So since it's 150, going in from either direction is 75. I'll just do it in the way it told me to. It's a completely arbitrary decision. Just whichever one makes me happier right now, and that one does. I also am going to need to know either the length of this here, or the distance from here to here, whichever one I can happen to find first. And I am finding the distance from the center to the outside of that. Okay. So the distance from the center to the outside of that is going to be 40. And I can put that in there real easy. So while I'm at it, I might as well continue dimensioning this internal part. Now I could take these and make lines going this way, but then I've got weird stuff going on. I've got stuff crossing, so to make it look a little bit more direct, I'm going to just go ahead and dimension this guy out here. And those actually shouldn't be touching. Of course, all these lines should be straight too, but I'm going to dimension him out here. So how wide is he? He is, there's something referring to it, it's the 20. So he's 20 wide. He's 20 wide. Alright, so let's see if I've got all this. I know where the circle is, both left and right, and I don't know its radius. Okay, that's critical. The radius of that circle is 45. Or the radius, I keep saying radius. Diameter of that circle is 45. So I can say my diameter is 45. I know the centers of all my little tap holes, my bolts, screws, whatever they are. Alright, so now I need to physically call it out. And it tells us in the drawing that they're M10s, and I think the text told us they're M10s times 1.5. So that's sufficient to say. M10 x 1.5, and I have 4 of them, so I have 4x of them. I don't actually need to say what the tap drill is because it's a through hole. It's a through hole, so I don't need to give any specific rules about threaded such and such deep or anything like that, because the machinist will know exactly what to use. So that's sufficient like that. So I think I've got everything labeled in this view. total width, total height. All the little parts on the inside are labeled. So I think everything in this view is taken care of. The last thing I guess I need to do is the only thing. Everything else in this view has been labeled except for the depth of the part. So I just need to find out what the depth of this part is, and then I think I'm done, because everything over here is extraneous too. It's already labeled in the other view as well. So that distance there is 25. So 25.00 is the height of my project, my height of my part. And let me just reduce this a little bit so now you can see the whole part at once. And I believe, just one more check, but yeah, that looks like we've dimensioned every part that we need to, or dimensioned every feature of this part that we need to, and I think somebody will take this and make a rat pretty part for us. Sorry, forgot one more thing. I got all excited. I forgot to say that my chords are rounded. My corners are rounded, so I have a rounded corner of R10. So that's the only thing I left off is my rounded corner. So I could say over here I've got a rounded corner 10.00 and I have 4x of them. Now I've got everything covered.